the man, the myth, the legend, our dear brother, Mr. Raphael, Sonny, Momo, Buyo.
Be here and to speak with you guys and to see you all. But even more so than that, I'm so stoked to be able to answer all these questions on Twitch. One guy already had asked, can you get coronavirus from farts? Which is a really great question. One that I think has yet to be, which we don't know for sure. Listen, what I'll say, I'm not going to try to be any sort of Dr. Oz here, but I'll just be able to talk from my own personal experiences of what I've seen, what I've experienced. But honestly, just to be able to see you guys and talk to you all, because I miss you all so much. So yeah, I'm so happy to be here on my day off.
Aww.
After I worked, I worked on Wednesday night. What's today? Friday. I worked on Wednesday night. I got home yesterday morning at 7. And I literally slept the entire day. I slept from maybe 10 o'clock up until maybe 2-ish. And then I had lunch. And then I went back to sleep from 4 up until 11:30 at night. And then I had a midnight snack of a ham, cheese, and croissant. And then I went back to sleep at around 1 o'clock. And I woke up this morning at 5. So I slept for like maybe a good span of like 16 hours.
That's quite a schedule.
Yeah, it's after what I got to deal with, I need.
You deserve it, dude.
To just keep up.
You deserve it.
But how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing in this time of Corona?
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to Chatter, to us.
Josh.
Oh, to us. Doing all right, bunkered down in the house. Haven't left my apartment in who knows how long, but it's pretty good actually. Internet can be better, but can't complain. Did we lose Darrow? I think he's like frozen right now. Wait, I'm trying to figure out what's going on, guys. Hello, team. Hello.
Okay, I think we're back. I guess.
Yeah, I'm hearing everything now.
All right, good. Well, if we're hearing it, they're hearing it, maybe. So anyway, Raph, would you be able to shed some light on...
Are we back? Chat, are we back?
I think we're back.
Hulk is on. I hear the Hulk.
We're back, baby. Okay, Raph.
Josh, what time is it, would you say?
I think we can all hear each other, right?
Time?
Dude, your voice, dude. Oh my God, your mic. It's like I don't know what it is.
I think they can hear everything we're saying right now.
I know. Yeah, we're live.
So let's swerve it on back to Mr. Buyo over here. And Raph, could you let us know, because I'm very curious, and I'm sure our viewers are also very curious, what is it like right now in the hospitals in New York City? You're seeing this every day or, several days a week. What's it like? Because, we don't really know what's really going on outside of what we're hearing in the news.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just for everybody, I work in Staten Island, one of the boroughs here in New York City. And I work in the emergency department. So I'm in, and just to be like very just like straight open with everyone. So the emergency department, generally, that's the gateway to get into the hospital. Let's say you have any like the smallest of ailments to like maybe hurt your ankle, you tripped and you fell, you have like a cut in your leg, or if let's say you have some like really major issues like you can't breathe, you feel like you have some chest pain, that you go to the emergency department, they'll take care of you, they'll stabilize you. And just, from the beginning of like all the issues that we've experienced here in New York City, like just maybe dates back to the beginning of March. And even still to this point, there's still just like so much, there's like a lot of anxiety and there's a lot of fear. I think now I feel personally a little bit better than where I was, because I feel like I've acclimated to what to expect, for these corona patients, or like how to treat them. But I tell you, in the first week, like in the first maybe week or two, it was just a lot of chaos, just like a lot of pandemonium. There's just like a lot of like so many uncertainties, from like, oh, how is this disease spread? How does it transmit itself from one person to the next? What precautions should I take personally as a nurse when I'm dealing with these patients? When I go home, what kind of way should I decon myself so that I'm not bringing this, the germs home to my fiance's parents, her grandma, and to my living space, right? All these questions, were just like, I was so overwhelmed. And, to this day, I feel like I still have, just uncertainties and just questions of like, well, how we're going to move on from this. But I feel a little bit more confident. I've been able to set a routine. I've been able to really manage just everything, in terms of having to clean myself and how to take precautions in the hospital. But the first 2 weeks, like I said, were some of the most overwhelming experiences I've had in the hospital. I think, we got that first case of that. I think it was a lady who had come from Iran. And then that was the moment where we were like, okay, so it's now arrived here in New York City. And then over in Staten Island, like, we're a little bit isolated. It's an island, so the only way to get to it is either the ferry or the two bridges, one coming from Brooklyn, one coming from Jersey. We're like, okay, maybe it's not going to be so bad here. But then a week later, we eventually got our first case, to the point where now I think something like 1,000 cases on Staten Island. But then those numbers also, might reflect that way, because Staten Island was actually one of the first boroughs to have the drive-through testing. So maybe there's just more availability. We have a better idea of like who in the community may have it. But I definitely saw that influx of patients, and it definitely reflected in what we have to take care of and deal with. Without being too morbid, I would go into work and literally, patient after patient, all in a row. They're all intubated. They were all vented. And I know you guys have heard a lot in the news about how there's a shortage of vents in New York. And I experienced that. There was a night where we were taking care of patients, and I think I was speaking with one of the residents, and she was saying, well, in normal circumstances, we would intubate this patient, but we literally only have one more vent in the hospital. So if we give it to this patient, what's the prognosis, really look like? Are they going to really do well on it? And then to realize that we've come to the point where we're making these sort of end of life decisions, for someone, it really hit me.
Is
hard.
that the doctor that makes that decision? Who makes that decision? Like, who's deciding that?
I think, yeah. I mean, in terms of about resources, it would be the doctor, especially in times where it's like, extremely crucial, and like, let's say you have nothing at all. At the end of the day, it's the doctor. Because what are you going to do? It's not like you can pull vents, out of thin air.
Right.
If you only have one left, then how would if somebody comes in, maybe a little bit younger, maybe with a little bit of a better health determinants, like no history of hypertension, diabetes, or anything like that, just completely healthy. Would you feel that they may have a better chance of being put on the vent because they have a better chance of actually coming off of it, as opposed to like maybe an older patient who has got a lot going on and might not eventually even survive?
Yeah, no one should have to be making those decisions. It's really sad.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's terrible. Even, and I mentioned this to you guys earlier, there was an instance where I worked with this older patient. He was completely there. He was completely with it, meaning like he was oriented. He knew where he was. He knew what was going on. He knew the circumstances. And he didn't want to be in the hospital anymore. He wanted to just go home. And this gentleman that I was taking care of, he was on a machine. It's called a BiPAP, which I would, consider probably be one step below getting intubated at this point. His wishes, like he was actually at the point where he, it would have helped him if he was intubated, but he, under no circumstances, wanted a tube down his throat. So what he wanted to do was to become, he wanted to sign papers that would say he'd be DNR, DNI, or he didn't want to be resuscitated, or he didn't want to be intubated. But his son called, and his son was like, listen, Dad, I want you to keep on fighting. I want you to do, to try the best. I want the medical team to be able to do as much as they can to be able to help you. And then so he acquiesced, and he was like, yeah, let's try the BiPAP. The next night I took care of him, and he was on that BiPAP. And I went into the room, and he was struggling. He wasn't doing well at all, but it's still there and still very coherent. But he kept telling me, listen, I just want to go home. I don't care if I die. And I was like, listen, you need this machine. It's going to help you. And there's a chance that, you can get better. And he was just like, he was so tired. I feel like he didn't want to fight anymore. And I was like, okay, if you really want to go home, then, let's see if we can call your son. And maybe, we can, make some arrangements. If you do, maybe we can, have you sign those DNR, DNI papers. And then like maybe an hour and a half later, I'm already walking. I walk by the window, and his mask is off for the machine. He's not on the monitor, and he's already passed. Whether or not he actually made that decision to do that, or maybe for some reason like the machine just fell off, I don't know. I don't know what happened or what went through his mind those last moments. But those are the kind of things that I've never experienced in my life, in my career, But now, and that was actually literally the first time in my life that I've ever walked into a patient's room and had found them already passed. So that was maybe like 3 weeks ago. Since that moment, I have now experienced that 4 times.
Wow.
Where I've walked into a patient's room, if not my own patient, but somebody else's, and they're already gone.
Wow, I'm sorry, Raph.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation, and man, I don't even know how a lot of us deal with this and can cope with what's going on.
How have you been coping with it? Some people are asking.
I feel like I'm just generally a pretty resilient person, I meditate a lot. I'll like even before I go into work, I'll take the time that I drive from my house to the hospital, and I'll just kind of reflect and just try to find ways that I can be grateful and express my gratitude to the world, to any higher beings, to my family. And realize that, there are people out there who, with the gratitude in mind, there are people out there who are like praying and working so hard to be able to have the blessings that I have, whether it's a job, whether it's my health, whether it's to have people who love them, whether it's to have just even food to eat, or just, some place to call home. There are people who are, just working their butts off and just praying to be able to have even one of those. And to say that I have all of those gives me just like that little bit of energy, that little bit of just like, just what I need to be able to go into work and to be able to take care of people, and also I also keep in mind something my mom told me, because both my parents are nurses. My mom is a dialysis nurse. My dad is a nurse practitioner who was also an emergency nurse. My mom always said, you'd much rather be the person taking care of the person in the stretcher, or the one who's being sick. You don't want to be the person in the bed who needs the care. And then I always keep that in mind when I go into work. And I think to myself, Lord, just let me get to tomorrow morning and let me be able to walk out of the hospital under my own volition. And if I can be able to say that much, then I consider myself blessed, and I'll do this job 10 times over. Let me have my health, and let me have the energy to be able to just take care of people, and just to be able to be compassionate, and then and also at the same time passionate about what I'm doing, and to be able to just like give love, and to be able to have the patience, to be able to give the love, all those things. Those are the mantras that I really just just recite over and over again, even throughout the night while I'm working. It's one mantra over the next, because it can be very stressful. Even before Corona, the emergency room is a very stressful place to work. We deal with gunshots, and I think I shared with you guys a story back in December about my one patient who was just a gunshot victim. But that stress, honestly, it was as stressful as it was. It pales in comparison to what we're experiencing now with Corona.
Well, the guys and girls in the comments are showing you love right back at you.
Lots of hearts.
You give love, and they're giving it back to you, buddy.
That's awesome. I really appreciate it. And honestly, I've missed you guys, and I wonder how many of you guys on the Twitch comments are new fans of Lucky Chops from the instrumentation that they've got going now, or have been watching ever since when did we start? Back in 2010, 2011, 2013 when we became the Subway viral.
2014, 2015, I think.
Yeah. So I even like to be able to look in the comments and to be able to, see all the support. That helps a lot, just to be able to give me the energy to be able to go to work. Other ways, I exercise a lot. I think exercising helps, just to be able to relieve a lot of the stress. And even when I'm exercising, I'm just reciting mantras to keep myself going, like to be able to have the air to breathe, to be able to expand my lungs as far as they go. Those are things that people right now that I'm taking care of are not able to do. And I try to keep that, just be mindful of that and to not take those things for granted, And I'm just reading a lot just to keep myself, out of just like distracted.
What book are you reading?
I'm reading. Actually, I had given a copy to Josh Holcomb as well. It's called My Adirondacks, and along with reading, I've just been completely immersed in YouTube videos of hikers in the Adirondacks. I don't think either of them will ever see this, but shout out to Jonathan Zaharik, who has an incredible YouTube channel where he just goes on hikes in the 80K, and then
46 of 46,
and the 46 of 46 podcast. Yep, him also. Both of them honestly create content that help me escape this very scary world that we're living in right now.
Are they allowing people to hike still, or is it not?
Most of the thing is, I think if you recreate locally, I think that's fine, right? Don't venture outside of your local area. And for us down here, downstate in New York City, the trip to the Adirondacks is still a good 5 hours.
If you're stopping at rest stops and
right. So that's exactly the thing. So you never know, and I'm sure you guys have heard that there are lots of people who are completely asymptomatic, meaning that they don't show any symptoms, no cough, no fever, no shortness of breath, but they're actually vectors for the pathogen without even realizing it, right? So you will be completely healthy, but then you'll travel all the way up there. You'll go fill up your car with gas. You'll touch the handle.
Yeah.
You'll interact with the people behind the counter when you exchange either cash, credit card, buy snacks, whatever. So for those of you who love hiking also, or who just want to travel, listen, I know the mountains will be there, and I keep telling myself that too. Don't put others at risk by traveling however far, and also because in New York City, I feel like New York State itself could be in terms of numbers, I think it would be like the by far the largest amount of corona positive patients than any other country in the world, I think. And I think in upstate New York, the numbers aren't as bad. It's downstate in New York City where there's just like a large infection rate.
You see they're making everyone wear a mask now if you go outside, and in a couple of weeks you start getting fines if you don't have it. That
was a mandate yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it goes into effect soon, I think. I have a bunch of masks, yeah.
Yeah. Which black market did you use to get those?
They're homemade.
Homemade? Let me see.
The Eagles won.
Oh, very cool. Nice. Yeah, actually, it was really cool. Like a lot of my coworkers, they've got family members, aunts, uncles, grandmas, who have been making homemade masks from just some of the fabric that I have laying around, and then so like I've got like a whole collection now of masks. And now, I don't know if, for those of you who are familiar with stage shows where I was on, I would wear a bandana. And then I'd throw it into the audience. Well, now I can use those bandanas again at work, and I'm using that to cover my hair. So,
people are wondering, what are your thoughts on kind of the overall effectiveness of masks, or what they're actually supposed to do? Either preventative, preventing you from giving it to somebody, or actually preventing you from getting it. What's your hot take?
Yeah, both. Prevent yourself from getting other people's germs, and also to protect other people from getting your germs, right? I think there are different kinds of masks out there, and I'm sure you guys have heard of, like, there's the N95, which I think is right now at this point is like gold standard. Is what everybody's looking for. It's like the hot commodity. But then I'll see people walking on the streets with these N95s. Are you guys familiar with what they look like compared to like a regular surgical mask?
Yeah, I've seen them. So
like people will, the whole point of N95 is to be able to have that complete seal around your face like this, right? So that even the smallest of pathogens, viruses aren't able to come in, and there's a filter in front that's able to filter them out. But I'll literally see people on the street walking around with N95s with one strap on, and then the bottom strap is just like hanging off. And then, when asked why they only have one on, it's because, it's uncomfortable. They can't breathe. Well, the point is, it's, to be able to have that complete suction, to have the complete seal. Honestly, at this point, I think any sort of face covering would benefit both yourself and everybody around you, especially when you're going out into supermarkets. If for some reason, or if you have to go out to the hospitals or anywhere where there's like a large concentration of people, I think it would behoove everybody to just have the mask on. And I'm surprised they didn't make that declaration sooner, because outside of the U.S., you see, especially in Asia, that you see a lot of people wearing masks, even on a regular basis, just to be able to prevent themselves from getting any diseases from other people. But even if you guys, Josh and Dara, or whoever's watching, if you guys are able to make your own makeshift mask at home, protect yourselves, honestly. Even if you're going outside to walk, if you're out to walk the dog or just to walk with your family, protect yourself, and just maybe put a bandana or even like a shirt around, or like a buff, just to have it around your face. A scarf would work,
I'm very thankful to you for supplying us with so many bandanas over the years, and I now have I have plenty of bandanas that I'm able to wash them after I wear them. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
every time I put it on, I have all different patterns, and so you're always there supporting all of us, Raph. Thank you.
It's the one time that your habits of collecting things to the absolute limit has actually paid off in a health kind of setting. So it's been good.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you.
Somebody actually has requested that Josh Gowell make a YouTube video.
Okay, Chad, I'm going to clear something up here, Chad. I have no clue how to sew. I ordered it online, so.
See, guys, if you're on Facebook, if you want to ask these deep questions like, does Josh know how to sew? Sue? Oh my gosh. So go on to Twitch and ask us. We'll answer the most ridiculous of questions. If
it's homemade, but not at my home, okay? It's a different home it was made in.
Okay. So actually, not to change the topic too much, but Buyo, a lot of people are wondering, they might have heard rumors that you are a nurse, but they know that you were a sousaphone player in Lucky Chops. And they just are wondering, what in the world happened? How did point A go to point B? And how did this transition, which, to a lot of people, it seems odd. How did it happen? And can you enlighten the fans who are so curious as to your journey?
Yeah, simply Joshua Holcomb. That's all I got to say. Joshua Holcomb.
That's it.
And let's just leave it at that.
Well, so I started the band back in high school, back in 2006 for the Filipino Day Parade. I feel like I've gone through this so often. There's a story that just like keeps coming back. But I love talking about my history and my past. Back in 2006, started for the Filipino Day Parade. Played through college, but I actually went to college for nursing. I went to Hunter College. And throughout college, we still played. I graduated. I worked as a nurse in Brooklyn on a surgical unit for 1 year while still playing. We play in the subways. We'd still have gigs. On my days off from the hospital, I'd come, hit with you guys. And then we recorded our first album in the studio, which didn't include me because I was working that night, and for some reason you guys couldn't wait to record it, which actually I don't even think is out for the public.
It's not available. No.
Yeah, it's the elusive Black Album.
The Black Album. Yeah.
Album.
None of you in the chat has no idea what it's about. What's
Featuring
on it?
Tremaine Bryant on sousaphone, not Raphael Buyo.
And Jesse Shevin.
Jesse Shevin, who some of you may know from one of our recent Full Hard Fancy studio videos. He was playing drums.
Recorded what, like 7 tracks in 3 hours?
At least. I think it was maybe more.
After playing in the subway that day.
After playing in the subway that day. Well, yeah.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, chopped of steel.
Listen,
crazy.
For all of you young musicians out there, that's how you do it. You just grind and grind and grind, and you make mistakes, but you learn from them. Because at the end of all of this, the good choices you make will come from your experiences, and your experiences come from your bad decisions.
Oh, you were waiting for that one.
I felt it coming on.
Wow, people are talking about this Black Album. The hype.
Yeah.
is real.
What were the tracks on the album? Do you guys remember? It was
I don't know.
Lean on Me.
I don't know.
Yeah, let's
Lean
keep that a mystery for the time being.
Secret.
The first recording of Going Home.
Going Home. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyway,
Who's on that album?
whoever can get a recording of that, I will personally give you Walter. How about that?
I have like 10 of them in my basement in my parents' house in Pennsylvania. I don't know why. I have like 10, like a couple Black albums. Yeah.
That would be the ultimate raffle.
Somewhere.
Black Album.
Okay, so we've gotten to the Black Album. What came next in your journey?
and then the video went viral. That subway video. That actually I'm also not on. Ray said is on
Oh, there's the Black Album right there. Yeah.
Wait, we would get such enjoyment out of this because we were all grinding in the subway every day, and Raph was moonlighting. You know, he was doing his nursing and Lucky Chops, and so we just thought it was funny that when we started to achieve our, some viral video success, Raphael wasn't a part of it at all. Long time actually, and meanwhile he was the founder of the band. But we had some other fantastic sousaphone players who got their glory. Ray Seta, Ibanda Ruhambika, amazing tuba player, and yeah, Tremaine Bryant. OGs.
And who benefited from the fruits of your labor?
Well, I would think you benefited. Actually.
And then, so that video went viral, and then everything picked up. We got signed for MTV. We started getting opportunities to tour, and then with those opportunities, I made the decision with the help of Joshua Holcomb. And actually my parents were so supportive of me leaving nursing to go to pursue music full time. With their support and their love, I was like, okay, listen, 1 year. Oh yeah. And then also my fiance was also very, very supportive. With their help and love and support, I left nursing and I joined the band full time and that was good for a good 3 years. So, I've seen some really funny comments like I left music to finally pursue my dream of becoming a nurse. To set it all straight, I actually my entire dream, my entire life was to be a nurse. And I don't know if that's because both of my parents are nurses and all my aunts and uncles are nurses, and generally just Filipinos are nurses. But that's what I always wanted to do.
And then,
so 3 years went by, and then I was, being a musician was tough, also, there's the touring really got to me. The touring was tough, being away from home, being away from my fiance, and also just realizing that, I don't think, but towards the end of it, I don't think I felt as much fulfillment as what I was hoping to get out of performing music on a full-time basis. There's a lot of politics when it comes to music and being in the business, and I think it just wasn't for me. And then I left Lucky Chops to go back into nursing, and that's where I find myself today.
Because of the politics, right? That's funny.
If you can't beat them, leave them.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
I don't know what you're talking about right now. But,
yeah. So that's the story. So I've only played a handful of times since I left Lucky Chops. But for any
how many times have you played your sousaphone?
How many hours have you practiced?
Actually, chat's asking, when was the last time you played your sousaphone?
It was at that school gig at 10th Avenue.
Oh yeah, Avenues.
Oh yeah,
Avenue.
right.
Yes.
The Faro workshop.
Yes, that was the last time, and that was a great.
It's pros alike.
Yeah,
there it is.
There it is. I did it.
And just for anybody who's watching, if you have any opportunities for a sousaphone player, let me know. Hit me up on Instagram. I'd be so happy. Once all this Corona stuff,
Raphael used to tell me, he's like, we were like touring all around the world playing these crazy shows we never could have imagined we would be doing. And he's like, this is good, but this doesn't really do it for me. And I was like, what would do it for you? Like, what would you want? He's like, well, just one day I want to just move to a small town in the middle of nowhere and, play in one of those community concert bands, just like random people from the community get together, play in a pavilion, people are having a picnic, and, we just play some like Holst, and, we just do a community marching band, a community concert band. So is that still a goal for you, would you say?
It absolutely is. Do you know why? Because the people who perform in those ensembles, they don't have to be there, right? It's like, they're doing it because they're passionate about everything, and when I see that when I hear when I listen to the music that they're playing, and realizing that they're putting in hours to go perform this music, and a lot of times they're not getting it for any money, right? There's something very honest and pure about their performances that I also want to be a part of.
I think you've always brought such an honesty to music, and when we were able to play together in this band and before then as well in high school, can you talk about what do you feel is the power of music, and where do you find that place that connects honestly with other people in music?
It's a great question. I've always looked to music as a very healing entity or thing for me. Even when I was on stage performing, the main goal was the main reason why I did it was because it made me feel good, right? It helped to heal me. gave me a lot of energy. I was passionate about it. I was able to play music with my best friends. That gave me such a great feeling. But then also at the same time, I was able to create music for other people to be able to enjoy. And I was able to see that on a regular basis, on a nightly basis, the joy that our music brought them, right? And it's something that I've always felt about just instrumental music. It's obviously it's universal, right? Regardless from where you're from, you can hear it, and it will elicit. Even if it elicits a different sort of emotion, it elicits an emotion. That's the bottom line. And I think that, in some respects, makes it a language and helps people to communicate with other people, right? And then especially in live performances, not only are they hearing the music, but they're able to see what we're doing. They're able to see how passionate we are when we play. They're able to see how we're able to interact with each other, and how, our bonds that we had was, it was more than just music, that there was a real friendship there that I think we were able to kind of portray. And I think just it was healing for me, and I think it was healing for other people as well. Which is why I think a lot of times the music is great, but I think the videos that are recorded of us when we're on stage, I think they have a really great healing power as well. Or like, if not, if healing, or whether it's inspiring, there's something that people are able to really get out of what Lucky Chops is able to, bring. And just in general, I see music as very healing, very therapeutic. Actually, I have these, I guess, chains or pendants. They're called My Intent pendants or chains, and they're both engraved. I have two of them. They're just washers, but I wear it around my neck at all times. One of them says Deborah, and that is my fiance, and the other one says
That's
healing.
Oh wow. Plot thickens.
Raph. I think
Raph,
we've been
you, baby.
We've been throughout our friendship and time in the band together, we've been so lucky to have that source of inspiration and sort of that connection between music and healing be so evident within the music, and almost to the point where I feel like we've been able to take for granted that that's what music is about for us, and that's largely thanks to your presence in the band, and that has shaped so much of my understanding of music and what I value in music. But it's interesting to think that that's not necessarily something that so many people talk about. It's not something that is so it's not something that you can just take for granted, because there's a lot of music that doesn't do that, or there's a lot of musicians who don't prioritize that. So first of all, I'm so grateful to you for that. And second of all, I would love to hear you talk more about the connection between, what you, how did you come to that understanding? What's the connection between healing through music and healing through nursing, and your family's history as healers in that context? I think it's a really beautiful thing. Love to hear you talk about that.
I think that just goes back also just like the emotions that are elicited when someone or when you listen to music, right? I think there's a very emotional aspect, and a lot of times it's also just connected to when you listen to music, a lot of times it brings you back somewhere, or brings back memories of like, who you were, or what time you were, or the time around listening to it. So growing up, I remember my first album, it was probably one of the boy bands, probably NSYNC or Backstreet Boys, right? So I'll listen to that, and then that nostalgia that I get when I listen to that music elicits emotions of joy and happiness, which in and of itself brings a healing, because it puts me in this very light, very happy, very positive, very optimistic mood. or optimistic place that gives me the positive energy to be able to give back into the world, right? Which also is probably one of the reasons why one of my favorite things to listen to, especially these days, is Lucky Chops.
You're lying, dude. Oh,
I'm not even kidding. Like, my fiance can attest to this. When I'm washing the dishes, I'm watching your guys' videos of like your concerts from like a month ago. I've texted you guys that there's a rendition of "It's Not Goodbye" with Reggie and Pat and
AC.
And you guys just sound so incredible.
You know that song's about you, right?
I do know that about me. That's a good guy.
That's a little valuable nugget of wisdom for the chat. How about that?
Oh, wow.
They didn't know that.
And then so those emotions that are elicited, even like when I watch you guys or when I hear Lucky Chops, that puts me in such a positive place. Also, this is my routine before going to work. I meditate. I practice gratitude, and then I call my fiance, I call my dad, and I call my mom. No, because you're my fiance. And then once I talk to them, and once I express like, hey, I love you guys. Thank you for what you do for me, what you bring to my life. I walk out of my car. I have my phone on. And it's not a Lucky Chop song, but I play Brass Track's rendition of Mariah Carey's "Always Be My Baby."
That's cool. Shout out to Brass Tracks.
Absolutely love that track. And I blast it, and I hold my phone up in the air, and I let everybody know, yeah, I'm ready to go to work. I'm ready to take care of people. And just like I have this like very optimistic outlook, and the next 12 hours go like that. Because I'm singing Mariah Carey's "Always Be My Baby" in my head.
You'll always be my baby, Raph.
Something about brass is just so joyful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hearing those sweet melodies, like I love how Brass Tracks just brings that to whatever melody that Ivan is playing, just fills it with that brassy joy, and it transforms the song sometimes, or captures a deep emotion from within the original song that you wouldn't have necessarily heard otherwise.
Absolutely. Either like maybe just like stylistically, also just like the way he, I guess the inflections just like make it just sound so vocal, and it just like there's like so much, attitude, and just it makes me feel confident when I'm walking to work.
Yeah.
So, but then also just like going back to this whole idea of healing in music. I don't know if you guys remember that there's this one concert, I think we were somewhere in the UK, where there was a patient. No, there was a fan who was in the audience afterwards, came up to us telling us that she had MS, multiple sclerosis, and she had so much pain to the point where she wasn't sure if she was able to make it to that show that night, but she ended up going. And by being at that concert, by listening to our music, she didn't have any pain whatsoever and was able to stand for the entire show. And for those of you who you don't know about multiple sclerosis, but it's a disease that afflicts just like it's a lot of pain, right? And for her to be able to stand throughout the entire concert, listening to us, telling us that we were able to heal her for even just for that one night, that was one of the real like. I guess one of the moments where I realized that what Lucky Chops is able to bring to the world is just like this healing, which was such a powerful moment for me. I don't know if you guys remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of cultures, they really believe like music has medical healing properties. And I think that it's really powerful because, we're not necessarily taught that in the States growing up, at least, but we've experienced that many, many times in Lucky Chops. That's just one of so many examples that we have of these kind of stories that are like just absolutely amazing. And I always mention that in Serbia, where the brass band music is so popular, they believe that. And to the point where I've heard a couple people tell me, if someone's in the hospital, they'll just gather around the hospital bed and point trumpets directly at the person on the bed and just blast trumpets from the heart right at that person, which to most Americans would sound like that's my worst nightmare. But they really feel like this has healing powers, and I love that. And we feel that with the brass music all the time.
Listen, music therapy is it's a real thing right now. You know, it's being studied. It's being used as a therapy around the country. Maybe not so much so relative to like, you know, the pharmaceutical means, you know, only because of profit and capitalism. But you know, I truly believe in music therapy. You know, right? But like, even just like think about it for yourselves, you know, just like if you were to when you play, or just like maybe something that you find just like very relaxing, or like you want to meditate. A lot of times people put on classical music. Classical music has this, you know, it's either classical music will put you to sleep, or classical music will make you feel like very relaxed and like very just like you're able to just like, you know, kind of be with yourself. But with that music, it's, you know, you feel your heart rate, you know, is lowering, right? A lot of times people with your heart rate lowering, your blood pressure will also go down. Whatever anxieties or fears or stress that you have in your life, a lot of times you're able to block that out because you're just able to just truly just focus on the music. And I think that's as much, it definitely is highlighted today, music therapy. But it could definitely use a huge push in ways to be able to help heal people. Especially at, you know, in end of life and palliative care, you know.
Wise words. So, Raph, a lot of people ask us all the time, and they're trying to ask you. They really want to know. They're like, "What's your secret? How do you play the way you play on the sousaphone? What do I practice? What do I do? How do I sound like you?" We see those all the time, and it's always been kind of funny because, you know, in some ways, I've, you know, maybe seen you kind of evade that question sometimes, or, you know, maybe dance around the bush. But if you were to look inwards and think about it, what kind of advice would you have? And I think that the healing mindset plays a big role in this, but how would you say you're able to play the way you play, or that you're able to bring what you bring to the stage? And what tips can you give a lot of our fans on how do they play like this, or how do they get better on the sousaphone like you?
Yeah. So if you were to compare me with other tuba players, I would, you know, you ever go to like a select screen on a video game, and like, you know, you have the character there, and then you have the different attributes,
the stats, yeah,
you know, that intelligence, the, you know, agility, whatever. I would be my main attribute would be power. I feel like power is just like straight up there. And I feel like that's a lot of my playing. That's all it is, man. Compared to Dr. Chapman, I am nowhere nearly as proficient as he is on his tuba. He, you know, listen, he's studied his craft, and I look up to him so much, and he is like, you know, just such an incredible player. The way he's able to solo, how tasteful it is, I am definitely not anywhere near that. If anything, the way I was able to capture an audience is just by being able to play really loud, and also like dance and move around as crazy as possible. So for those of you who want to play like Buyo, one of the things I've always said, you're going to need to build up that lung strength. And I've always said that cardio is one of the best ways to be able to do that. There was a point where we were in, I think this was the first year of college. I came back after having started running. And everybody in the band noticed that I had a complete change in my tone, in how I was able to, you know, just my volume was just like so much louder. I think just cardio was all it is, because you know what, guys, I'm hesitant to disclose this information, but I never really practiced.
was my next question. What is the ratio of cardio to practicing by yourself?
It would be 1. It's 1 to 0. I never practiced. This goes back to high school too. I never practiced. I mean, like, I would maybe like my practice honestly would be in rehearsals and also in band class or in jazz class. That's when I would practice. The only practicing that I would do at home in any sort of way was actually to just listen to the music, you know? Like, you know, especially in jazz band, we had our jazz band director, Mr. Blanc, would send us home with like just like CDs and CDs of recordings of the different charts that we were playing, and I would just like I would just like meticulously kind of like scrutinize the different trombone parts and kind of just like listen, and I would have that in my head while reading the music at the same time, and that's how I would practice. And then I would come into, you know, class the next day, and I would just be able to try to mimic that. And then over time, it would just work out. You know, very rarely you would find me in a practice room putting in hours trying to practice. To say that I have ever done long tones would be a lie. But
someone wants to know: are you using the dark side of the Force?
That would be more accurate than not. Man, it's kind of funny, and even in Lucky Chops, you know, like it was just a lot of listening. And what's nice is that, you know, with Lucky Chops, I don't necessarily have to play the parts so correctly. But then over time, like, I would learn how to do it properly, and I wouldn't necessarily need to like shed, you know, as much as like other people would have to or do. So like, honestly, yeah, cardio, and that's it.
Well, Raph, you have a fantastic sense of groove and rhythm and what the bass should play. And I think that's one of your like real strengths on the instrument that makes it feel so good and sound so good, whatever you play. So thinking about those kind of elements, you have any advice for people who are playing a bass role in their band about what to do to make the music feel good? Forget about notes and running scales and all these stuff like you're talking about, but you do know a lot about making the music feel great. So what do you think is important as far as making the music feel good for the band and for everyone in the audience?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I just have always had this maybe innate idea of what a bass line is supposed to sound like, whether it's from just like listening to a lot of stuff, but also realizing that, you know, the first and foremost, the bass part needs to be, along with the drums, is the foundation, right? So as long as you get that, as long as you chug along just like a train and you're able to make that nice and solid, everything else will sound good. I think throughout my career as a musician, I think I just tried to hone that as much as possible, you know, by listening to bass lines and also just being able to really just feel it in my gut. You know, if you're able, I think what I was able to do really well was that I was able to mimic what I had to play through voice or through singing, right? Or even just, I guess, through body movements, right? Which is probably why I would move around so much, because that would help me to be able to either set the time or maybe to set the groove, and then that would be able to help me to put that out into my horn. I don't know if you guys remember when I'd be playing sometimes, I would keep my arm out like this, kind of like bobbing with the music. Yeah. Right? And, you know, a lot of times, like, you know, people would say, oh, he's doing that as like as a way to balance because his horn is just way too big for his body. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess so. Because Walter is a pretty large instrument. But honestly, I would do this if you watch some like old videos of me, but I would be doing this, you know, in time, but it would help me to be able to really look just cool. Like
helps you to look cool.
to find that groove, right? I think first and foremost, feel that groove in your gut. And then once that's there, then you can translate that into whatever horn you're playing. I mean, that's the most technical I can get for you, you know?
I think that's really good advice, Raph. And I think a lot of times whenever we're playing music in school growing up, the emphasis is not always on feeling the pulse and feeling the groove really strongly inwards. It can just be on playing these notes on the paper. So I think you've done such a great job of, really focusing on feeling the groove inside and then projecting it out there and giving it to the band and giving it to the audience. And I think that there's so much to learn from your playing for us and then for all the fans and for everyone watching. So thank you for sharing that gift to the world in your musical recordings and the live videos with Lucky Chops that you've given to the world.
No problem. Plus cardio.
Yeah. Well, Raph, I was wondering if you can share with us, before we answer some fun bonus questions from the fans, of which there have been many, what are ways that you think us staying at home, who oftentimes feeling kind of helpless in this, pandemic that we're living through, how can we really be effective, would you say, as far as how we can help, where we can offer support, and, what can we do, since you're on the front lines of this and you're seeing what's happening?
Yeah. It's funny. Like I think the term social distancing just came around so quick that everybody just ran with it, right? But it's what we're doing really is a physical distancing. I feel like this idea of social distancing, when you say social, like this thing with anything, social media, it's about being connected with other people. In these days, of course, we're all still connected, but we're just physically apart. I think there's actually, I think I read an article this morning that anxiety meds have increased maybe by like 30 or 40%, or the prescribing of anxiety meds have increased because there are a lot of people who are, whether it's just because of what's going on around the world, or because maybe they feel a little bit isolated, they're starting to feel a lot of depression. They're starting to be, really anxious. So as much as staying home is helping to flatten the curve, or just like to be able to help stop the spread, just try to remember, or try to reach out to, people in your communities or to your friends who may need, just someone to just say, hey, what's up? Hope you're doing well. I hope you're okay. Realize that, times are tough because, even before coronavirus, people felt isolated without actually being physically isolated. Now things are just going to be even more exacerbated because not only do they feel emotionally isolated, but now they're actually physically isolated. If you know someone who could use even just like, that warm greeting, go for it. Take that opportunity to be that change for someone in any sort of positive, loving way, because we all can use it. And even if, let's say, you were wrong and they didn't need it, what harm is a simple hello, how are you doing, I'm thinking of you, gonna do for anybody? It's not gonna hurt anybody. So I just remember other people. Remember those who mean a lot to you. Keep them in your mind so that we can all take care of each other. It's not just. I think I put out a little post the other week about the people in the front line are we're taking care of the people who are sick, but also at the same time in this world we need to take care of each other. And I think that's just something that's really important to remember.
Such beautiful words, Raph. I'll remember that. It's interesting. It just seems like sometimes, I'll want to offer that to you, and then for whatever reason, it just seems like you don't answer the phone, multiple times. But I'll just keep on trying.
Well, whether because I'm sleeping or I would be at work, but I never failed to get back to you. So.
No, it's been really nice being able to talk with you so much, and I'm sure we can all relate to, like, it's never felt as amazing to just have a phone call with somebody as it does now, at least for me. But it feels like every phone call I have with anybody, it's like, wow, that was That was so wonderful. Do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because, we're stuck inside. We're not, socializing as much as I used to, before this all happened. So just calling up people, and I've noticed myself doing that more, just calling up friends and be like, hey, what's up? And then talk for an hour or whatever.
Yeah, Josh, your buddy from Pennsylvania is he's working as a travel nurse, and he's over here now in New York City.
Just got in about 2 days ago. Yeah, actually, I was talking to him the other day too. He's getting used to the area. He's living in he's about a couple blocks away from you, Holcomb.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, he's working in the Bronx.
He's working in Inwood. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's way up there, but he's working. He went straight into the Corona unit. So God bless him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, really awesome he's doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Dara, you had been doing some research about, in addition to calling people, which I think is such valuable advice and such powerful advice, about some ways that people can also financially support some organizations during this pandemic as well, right, Dara?
You're muted.
Sorry, I was adjusting some settings and forgot to unmute myself. There's so many different funds and DIY, like community response, mutual aid type of organizing going on and fundraising. So definitely just look at social media from people in your community who you trust, people like community organizers, like all around the country, all around the world. We're seeing this, but here in New York, we did some research a couple of weeks ago, and some of you might have seen us shout out a couple of different fundraising campaigns going on. When we posted our Stand By Me throwback video with Raph, there's a couple of organizations, and maybe we can get those up in our Twitch chat. And yeah, here. Oops, someone else might need to do that because I don't have a Twitch account. So
Send it
We're getting there.
You can't send it to me on Skype.
Rewind.
I can. Anyway. If you send me the link, you send me the links on WhatsApp, I can post them.
Oh, he sent the link before. There you go. You can do it. Rip Darrow.
Anyway.
That was one that lasts for really long.
No, I figured out a way. That was what I was doing during the break there. I figured out a way to stop it. So anyway, for those of you who are interested, you can follow these links that are going to be posted in the different chats. One is an organization that's raising funds for PPE, personal protective equipment. Raph, you're finding that there's still a drastic shortage of this. You were mentioning this earlier, right? That you've had to reuse masks. This is something we've been hearing since the start of this, really, that there's just not enough. So this is super important to support. Also, another organization called the Migrant Kitchen, which is partnering with different food delivery services here in New York to provide food to healthcare workers and to provide employment to people in precarious positions, and also to help support other food insecure folks with the delivery of meals. And so that's a great way to support people on multiple levels. That's the Migrant Kitchen. So check out the links right there. Masks and food, and anything you can do to help is going to go a long way to support people who really need it right now. And Raph, do you have anything to say about that? Is there any other ways that aside from masks and food that financial donations can be put to their best use right now?
No, I think it's I don't know, just the whole crowdsourcing thing is just, it's so backwards to me. We live in one of the top countries in the world, and we are crowdsourcing from its citizens to be able to help protect those who work on the front lines, right? It boggles my mind and also just breaks my heart at the same time, and I'm never in any position to be able to ask, for people to financially give to be able to help us protect ourselves, because that's not their responsibility, right? That's the hospitals, that's the corporations, that's people who make these, the equipment for us. They need to make it accessible. They need to, and without getting too political, they need to really change healthcare in this country, because I'm tired of seeing people try to crowdsource, to be able to help pay for their own healthcare, because that's absolutely not right. For people to have to ask others for donations to make sure that they stay healthy. Like, what kind of country is that for us to live in? And I've said this so many times that like literally one faulty, one mistake, one bad accident, someone who could have like the best job in the world with the best healthcare can just, become inundated with healthcare bills, because healthcare is so expensive in this country, and can then eventually find themselves jobless, can eventually find themselves, in lots of medical debt, which would eventually just put them on a terrible path of just just complete stress and misery. It hurts me so much even thinking about it. So if anything, maybe to be, political and active in that sort of way, and to try to fight for better health care for this country moving forward, maybe that would be an even better ultimate goal, where they can put their energies to.
I'm hopeful that happens as a result of this. Everyone is going to realize how important that is and how necessary and crucial it is. So hopefully that'll, there'll be a big movement for that. I think we're all in agreement there, at least on our end. Now, Rafi,
hey.
There was a lot of people that were wondering, they said, what is Momo and why do we need more of that?
Oh, that's a great question. And it's funny. So I'm also on the Reddit thread for Lucky Chops, and somebody had screenshotted the final scene of our Temple of Boom video with the final credits. And if you all go to that, you will see the high scores. I think it's like Sunny, Rex, Walter, whatever, and then there's, I think on the 4th or 5th line it says Mo.
Easter egg.
I didn't even know that, actually.
Yeah. Probably did at some point.
Maybe, I don't remember.
What is a Momo? Me don't know. And why do we need Mo? Me don't know.
Wow, that was like poetry.
You just made me touch my face and possibly get coronavirus, Raph. How does that make you feel?
That's fine. You're asymptomatic. I don't think you're sick. I don't know. Let's keep Momo for discussion. There's funny because Momo was trending maybe last year for that Momo challenge with that scary face person.
Yeah, whoa, that was terrifying.
It is terrifying, but I will tell you, it's not related to that hideous monster, Momo. And here's something for you guys. Somebody in this chat right now is a Momo, and it's not me. Oh.
All right. Well, how about that?
I like.
That's a cliffhanger.
One of the things that I miss most about...
You're a Momo, though, right? Like,
who?
You're not a Momo.
I'm not a Momo.
I've heard Daryl.
Is a Momo a way of life or something? I'm not really following.
No,
Who is Momo?
A Momo is a South Asian dumpling.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not.
Oh. Okay.
One of the things that I miss most about touring and being with you guys is being able to interact with the fans, and being able to give back. So like me and Deb have you guys are doing these online lessons, right? Me and Deb have been trying to figure out a way of how we can sponsor students to be able to get lessons from you guys. So I'm trying to Yeah, exactly. How? I'm trying to figure that out.
No, I said, wow, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
But also how?
So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, oh, how am I going to do this? And I was like, you know what? So maybe, so I don't know if you guys know, but the last track on the Lucky Chops album, Mo Momo, was actually written by me and Josh Holcomb over pizza and sodas. It was the best night of my life. And that track is it's I don't know, very special to me, and you know, I and all the covers that I've seen of Mo 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 that you guys have done have been fantastic, and just great content. Really makes me feel just like really awesome. I was thinking maybe for any group of you know, musicians, like, you know, like whether it's a brass band or even just like a little quartet of even whatever instruments, put out a cover of Mo Mo Mo. And the best cover of Mo 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 that I find, that group of musicians, I will sponsor you guys to have lessons with the Lucky Chops.
Wow. Wow.
You heard it here first, chat. You heard it here first.
We're giving Bill Gates a run for
Poggers,
his,
baby.
Philanthropic money.
As a way for me to give back to you guys for all the support and the love that you guys have shown me over the years, to the fans and to you guys as well. Josh, John, and Eric.
So wait, you're going to give us lessons for each other?
Yeah, I could use a tuba lesson.
Yeah. Why don't you put out that cover of Mo Mo Mo? Because I've yet to hear you guys perform it.
Ooh, shots fired, big time. The fans want it. We always get the request for live Mo 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 in the studio. And the truth is, that song is just hard. And so it's been like we've been always talking about it, but we haven't done it yet. But it will happen. But we need to go big with that one, Raph. Mm-hmm. So if you have ideas, chat about how we can go big with Mo Mo Mo, let us know.
You know what? It would have to be a group cover with Shaghorns, Funky Dogs, Top Shelf Brass, all of us in isolation covering Mo Mo Mo. Wow.
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 To cover Momo, I'll look for it. I'll find it. You can send it to me, message me, and the best one after a certain point, I'll look at all of them. I'll sponsor you guys, because I truly, honestly, giving back is, you know, whether it's through mentorship or whether it's to be able to, you know, to talk to you guys or to whatever. It's what I want to do in life. So let's see it.
Post it on the Discord if you guys make it. Post it on the Discord and post yourself playing, and Buyo will come over there and check them out.
Our time is dwindling down. What a lovely time we've had. But as we wind down on this edition of ChopsCast, are there any other comments or questions for our special guest, Raphael Buyo, this evening?
While I wait for the comments or questions, if anybody wants to go hiking in the Adirondacks when this is all finished, me and Josh Holcomb we're on our quest to become Adirondack 46ers. You can look it up online, and if you'd like to join us on our quest, please feel free to message us, because we've done day trips where we will drive 5 hours to the Adirondacks and then 5 hours back just to have a day of hiking. Currently, I am on peak number 15. I have peaked 15 high peaks. Josh has peaked how many? 7?
I've bagged about approximately 7.
All right. And we are on our way to 46. So if anybody wants to come hiking with us, please let us know.
What mouthpiece do you play on, Buyo? People are asking.
People are saying they need to make a Sios Buyo edition mouthpiece. You got a lot of Sios love in the chat, I've noticed today.
So the mouthpiece that I've played on has been the one I've only played on for sousaphone. And believe it or not, I found it in the bottom of a bass trombone bag. And and it is a Helleberg. I don't know the size. Don't ask. But it's
Where is your sousaphone right now?
Walter is at home with Bilbo. They're actually laying right next to each other.
Oh, not social distancing?
Who's Bilbo?
Bilbo is my first sousaphone that I bought off eBay from an old band school director in New Jersey. So that's the brass colored one. That's Bilbo, and then Walter is laying right next. They're laying right next to each other. Yeah, no physical distancing for Walter and Bilbo.
Somebody asked, Buyo, do you play euphonium? Interesting question.
So I actually started my musical my brass musical career on baritone horn, and then eventually I learned trombone for jazz band, and then in LaGuardia High School, baritone horn, euphonium, they're more or less the same instrument. I started playing euphonium. My parents purchased me euphonium to use for high school.
And what was that euphonium's name?
Wow.
I remember.
Really?
It was Percy.
Percy, yeah.
What's that? Baritone. You're a silver baritone.
Oh my gosh, you might be actually right.
Actually, that's right. Yep, I can.
That was mine was Percy.
Do you remember what my trombone name was?
Of course.
Excalibur.
Oh, I was gonna say if chat knew, but now they do. Raphael had a trombone, and he had those, like, what do you even call those, like, cutout letters, stickers, like block letter stickers, whatever. And he had it said, like, it was on the bell, right? And it just said Excalibur.
I had it on my
case.
I had it on my case, Caliber. But I had both a straight and a cup mute that I named them. And then I think my straight mute's name was Ace.
Ooh.
Yeah, and my cup mute's name was Goblet.
Interesting.
Another word for cup. I like that.
Thank you. You know what?
Someone's asking, where's Percy?
I think, Josh, didn't you sell Percy?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Listen, if anybody's looking for a sousaphone and wants to purchase Walter, let me know. Let me know, because looking to.
Did you end up getting that fixed?
No,
it's
but
still smashed.
That will be the onus of the new recipient of who wants to play him. Because you know what, instruments are just like pets.
How much for Walter? How much for Walter?
Yeah,
dude?
you could just get them and then you
sell your pet.
Yeah.
you just like break them.
I don't like you anymore.
And then you sell them.
It's like kids, you know.
What I'm trying to say is that how sad is it for Walter to just be sitting and laying there in a basement? That hurts my heart.
Well, how much? How much for Walter? How much you selling it
I
for?
wonder.
How much for Walter? Well, that will be up for discussion. But FYI,
No, like ballpark range. You know, like come on, chat wants to know.
Like Yankee Stadium, old Shea.
What's your favorite baseball stadium, Raph?
Right now, my favorite baseball stadium. Interesting. So I've actually been to, I think, 14 baseball stadiums in the country. My favorite one. That's a good question. I really like Angels.
This is Bank Park.
Oh, AT&T, or the old AT&T, which is now actually Oracle Park in San Francisco. Oh, Camden Yards is a beautiful park also, just like really old timey. You have the buildings in the background. The park's just it's a really nice classic park. AT&T Oracle Park also, with the big glove and the Coca-Cola bottle. That's classic with the bay. You can't beat that, you know.
How many stadiums have you been to, Raph? How many baseball stadiums?
About 14 or 15. So I've got a ways away to go. Maybe about halfway to go.
Well, Buyo, is there anything you would like to share with the fandom, the babies that you have birthed yourself single-handedly over these past 14 years? Any words now that you have the chance to talk to them directly?
Yeah, I may not be in Lucky Chops anymore, but I'm still there for anybody who is looking for any sort of advice of, playing tuba or wanting to maybe even pursue a different career that's not music, but then may be at a crossroads and trying to decide what they want to do. Mentorship, like I said, is something that I really want to pursue in life, and I feel like I do that really well. So if you have any questions, if you need some guidance in any sort of way, reach out to me. I'd be so happy to help. And which is really nice, honestly. Thank you guys for, not forgetting about me. Josh and Darrow, you could have just, let me leave the band and, let me live my life. But you continue to bring me back in, and that means so much to me. And like with everything else in life, I don't take that for granted at all. Because, there are people out there right now who are praying to find people in their lives to just love them and support them. And here in front of me, I have 3 of the most supportive, the most loving people who I can call friends. And that I do not take for granted.
Oh, the feeling's mutual, buddy.
Aww. We love you, Raph.
Love you guys too. Thank you for having me here.
Well, on that note, it's been a really fun edition, number 2 of the ChopsCast. And just want to remind y'all that we are doing Chops University. We actually only have a couple more slots this Saturday. So if you want to take some lessons with us in a group setting, it's pretty cheap. It's only $25 per ticket. Go to luckychops.com/chops-university. So excited to kick it off this week. And go to our Discord where you can participate in the Full Heart Fancy Fan Challenge. It's going to be epic. Really want to see you guys strut your stuff for that video. And until next time, we will see you on the next edition of ChopsCast. Thanks, Raphael. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.